Cardinals. Starting running back Andre Ellington will be on the field tonight. He had hurt his foot in practice on Thursday. Weren't sure what his status was going to be, but they've given him the green light. However, Tyrann Mathieu, the safety, the honey badger, he will not be out there. They did have him on the field for pregame workouts. They were working him out pretty intensely, cutting back and forth. They've decided they want to give him some more time to shake that rust off. They hope to have him back next week. On the other side of the ball for the Chargers, they will have the services of linebacker Manti Te'o, who's missed the last 3 preseason games. They will also have Antonio Gates back on the field. Boom.
All right, Lindsay, and we get set here to what we think will be a lot of points, but Trent, just when we think we get dangerous.
Well, the league's set up, Boom, to score a lot of points. With the rules emphasis, everything that's been done league-wise, it's set up for 2 quarterbacks like this, Carson Palmer and Philip Rivers, to have a heyday, especially when they have the big physical wide receivers and the other playmakers around the ball. I'm looking for a lot of scoring tonight.
Yeah, the Chargers will do the kicking off, as you can see from right to left on your screen. That's Nick Novak, who's really done a good job for them since replacing, when he was injured, Nate Kading. And Kading just never got back to it, and Novak certainly has the job. And one of the new Cardinals, and he can fly, Ted Ginn Jr., 3 kick returns for touchdowns, 3 punt returns for touchdowns. So we know that he can roll. And we're ready for action. Dig in for another 3 hours. Go out, get some extra stuff to eat, a beverage, and Novak's kick is on the way to Ginn. Spilled at about the 16-yard line. Darryl Stuckey in there for the tackle for San Diego. And Carson Palmer comes out, 33,000 yards plus, 213 touchdown passes in his illustrious career, which has now gone from Cincinnati to Oakland to now the Arizona Cardinals. Through his career, hadn't played against San Diego that much, and I understand the players change all the time, Trent, but they point out, man, he's had some 4 touchdown, no interception games against us. He has beaten us plenty. So Andre Ellington, you heard Lindsay's report, the very swift second-year running back behind Palmer, and we'll see him right away. Eric Weddle, among others, in on the stop, along with Manti Te'o. The Cardinal offense, you know, with Palmer and then Ellington, a new left tackle, Trent, Jared Beldier, over from the Raiders. They feel that's a real upgrade on an offensive line they hope is improved from last year. And a pass-catching tight end, you remember him the last couple of years with the Vikings, John Carlson. Oh, by the way, Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best all time, and Michael Floyd really emerging, are split out when Carson Palmer to pass on second down. And the swing. Jonathan Dwyer, the one-time Steeler, takes the swing pass, and Brandon Flowers makes the stop. And the Chargers defense, they're hoping for big things from Melvin Ingram. Hurt most of the year last year until he came on in December, along with Reyes and Legit. Te'o, we mentioned his name, Butler, Mr. Steady. Eric Weddle, defensive captain. Brandon Flowers, the new corner, a Pro Bowler last year with the Kansas City Chiefs on 3rd and 5. Ginn is in, as everybody is split out, naked backfield. Butler, there's a flag. Was it too much time?
Delay game. Offense number 3. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Boom, Carson had plenty of time at the line of scrimmage. He got caught up redirecting a protection. They were in an empty backfield, so he has to direct the 5 bigs up front to wherever he thinks the most dangerous blitzes. This is not a real exotic look. I don't know what distracted him and let him go down so far in the play clock. You wouldn't expect that from a veteran player like Carson Palmer.
Bill Vinovich, our referee tonight, so now 3rd and 10 in the opening series here in Arizona. Carlson in motion down to the bottom of your screen. Palmer, complete, and Arizona right away uses that new tight end that we talked about on 3rd and 10. Carson Palmer to John Carlson. First down, 20-yard pickup.
And that's something Carson Palmer has that luxury of having here in Arizona. Tight end he can trust. The timing rhythm, look, this is the zone coverage. This ball is thrown early over the underneath defender in front of the safety. That's a big-time throw. It takes a lot of trust knowing that your tight end is going to intersect that ball between those 2 defenders.
First down at the 35. Ellington is the lone back. Cero come in the slot. The quick pass is behind John Brown, a rookie wide receiver from Pittsburgh State. Trent, he's 24 years of age, so he's already a man, and he made himself a man in the preseason.
They are really excited about young John Brown. They couldn't stop talking about what he brings this offense. In fact, head coach Bruce Arians said him and Tom Moore have made comparisons to him with the ex-great Colt Marvin Harrison. So he's got some serious giddy-up.
Seen about 6 plays with 6 different formations. Double tight end. Palmer, time, long. But that's like out-kicking the coverage, isn't it? Corey Legion making sure that Palmer doesn't get used to throwing bombs all night long, made him think about it afterwards.
Yeah, and Carson Palmer took a big shot at the end of the play from Corey Legion. And this is what the San Diego Chargers need. They need this interior push, relentless pursuit by their big 3 up front. Carson Palmer should not have thrown that ball down the middle with the safety right there. Got away with one there.
3rd and 10 at the 35. Dwyer the back in, as we said, over from Pittsburgh. Remember Richard Mendenhall calling it quits in the offseason, so new running backs really. And that's thrown into traffic, and incomplete. Eric Weddle among those over there defending. So a good start for San Diego's defense, except for the 120-yard completion. And we'll see a punt, which is already a story. The Cardinals have 2 punters, Trent, active and ready for action. This is Drew Butler. That is, yes, son of Kevin Butler, the longtime kicker of the Chicago Bears. Drew an All-American at Georgia. We'll get his story in a minute. It's a deep punt that's fielded at the 11 by number 11, Eddie Royal. And he's out of bounds at about the 21. Dave Zastudil, longtime punter, tweaked a hammy late in the week, but he's holding for the rookie kicker. So Arizona has 2 punters. San Diego has Phillip Rivers. We'll be back. ESPN's Monday Night Football brought to you by GMC. Enter the Never Say Never sweepstakes for a chance to win a 2015 GMC vehicle at gmc.com/NFL. And coverage tonight from Spider Cam is brought to you by DirecTV. So the San Diego Chargers, 9-7, playoff team a year ago, have the ball in offense for the first time tonight in a scoreless game in the Valley of the Rain, which became the Valley of the Sun. Comeback player of the year last year, number 17, 32 years young, Phillip Rivers, 32,000 yards plus 221 touchdowns for his career. Ryan Matthews, the lone back, as the crowd trying to make it difficult on Rivers, who gets a chance to really strategize and change things at the line if he wants. Not much for Matthews going off right guard. In Arizona, which will, it's Larry Foote, one of the defensive captains, but first-year Cardinal involved in the tackle. Remember, longtime Pittsburgh Steeler.
And boom, that's exactly what the Cardinals want to do. Pick up where they left off last year, dominate teams on early downs against the run, force them into must-pass situations. Nice start in the first play of the season for the Arizona Cardinals run defense.
Danny Woodhead in the backfield now in motion to the top, number 39. Rivers to Antonio Gates. And how many times have we said that over their career? Many, many times. That's about a 5-yard pickup.
Not expect to see a lot of this tonight. The understanding of zones, breaking down, working, bodying up by Antonio Gates. Phillip Rivers understanding every little nuance of Antonio Gates' body movement. And against a great run defense, this is a great answer to get those short little completions to your tight end to be in third manageable pass situations.
Now the third running back for the Chargers, Donald Brown, is in. 2 tight end set. The bottom of your screen is Ladarius Green. Big thing that's expected of him this year, number 89. They're moving a little tighter. Here come the Cardinals. Rivers has time to Antonio Gates. First down, San Diego.
And Bo, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The Arizona Cardinals bring a six-man pressure, play man coverage behind it. Phil Rivers understands the timing of the pocket. Look at him climb. He's climbing up into pressure, layers that ball to Gates, winning on the crossing route versus man. That is nearly unstoppable.
First down from the 40. And the Chargers give it to Donald Brown, former #1 pick, the Indianapolis Colts a few years back, Larry Foote. I mean, again, just a new Cardinal got 15 votes right away, Trent, to be a defensive captain. Impressive.
Got a championship pedigree. Everywhere he's been, he made the defenses better. But one of these guys in the NFL is just a true pro. Larry Foote, he'll fit in great with this unit.
Danny Woodhead the back alongside of Rivers. Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, likes to dial things up. It's like they took too long.
Ball start. Offense number 63. 5-yard penalty.
All right, Trent, so we have a first down on a delay of game on both sides, right? I get it. We said you could throw a blanket over these two teams. The Chargers offense, Nick Hardwick, the veteran center, in there. You know, Clary's not in at the right guard, so that's Troutman. #1 pick DJ Fluker a year ago at right tackle. Gates and Green, we've mentioned. Keenan Allen led all rookies and everything last year receiving. Malcolm Floyd, healthy, number 80, is the other wideout.
Love what Phil Rivers doing here. He's declaring what the defense is doing by shifting Danny Woodhead back.
2nd and 13. Rivers across the middle. It's a quick pitch for about 3 yards to Keenan Allen. And Dayon Buchanan, the first-round pick this year, number 27 overall for the Cardinals, makes a nice short-handed tackle, and San Diego is facing 3rd and 10 at the 40.
Nice tackle by Dayon Buchanan, rookie. Bringing him in to be a down box safety, but also playing these subgroup situations. Has to be a good open field tackler. That played a lot of potential if he doesn't step up and make that tackle.
Play clock down to 3. Here they come. And almost picked off, and maybe it is. Cardinals feel they can go for it, but incomplete. Why not return it till you're sure? And all sorts of smacking going on down the field. But Justin Bento from Presbyterian, 3rd year, almost came up with a crazy interception. But so each with a first down. He was looking for Gates in double coverage, Trent.
Really nice play by Gerard Powers coming back. Had the flat, then comes back in the deep corner by Antonio Gates. Looks like Rashard Johnson might have intercepted that ball.
Nope.
No, ball hits the
didn't.
ground. Good call by the referees, but a great play by Gerard Powers, backing off, and good pass rush on that play as well. It forced Philip Rivers to get the ball in his hand a little quick.
Arizona is challenging the ruling on the field of an interception. Timeout.
Well, from our second angle, it didn't look like it, did it? But we'll see. Bruce Arians got the call from upstairs. Challenge. Doing. Doing. Did he get it? We'll be back. Back in Arizona, where Bruce Arians is challenged. We'll see.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It's an incomplete pass. Please reset the game clock to 8 minutes, 39 seconds. Arizona's charged the first challenge and first timeout. It'll be 4th and 10 at the 40-yard line.
Now remember now, Trent, only one more challenge and they lose the timeout. So the call came down quickly, but the second replay we saw was pretty clear, wasn't it?
It really was. Bruce Arians, head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, must not have seen the same picture we did. I don't think he would have challenged that, cost himself a timeout and losing that first challenge. Those things can be very valuable down the stretch.
You know, Arizona has 2 punters in uniform, but Mike Cypress has punted for a long time here. One of the best in football, and boy, is that up there. Ted Ginn signals for a fair catch at about the 8. Monday Night Football brings you a meet. We're not even done with this week, but we're going to tell you about next week. 2 reigning division champs, LaShawn McCoy Phillies' dynamic high-speed offense, we certainly saw it in the second half yesterday, against two-time Pro Bowl quarterback Andrew Luck and the Colts. Monday Night Football, Eagles at Colts, Monday ESPN. Game also on Watch ESPN. No other night is Monday night. Now, is that pretty remedial, isn't it? I'm just reading it, okay? That is a fact. Second series, Arizona and Trent, they're almost in a completely different formation every time, and they are again.
They've been this empty set a few times here. They must like the look it provides them. They're getting straight man coverage on the snap.
Palmer just simply tossed that one away. And a flag. And whistle just before the play hat. So it again we'll get the Buseyville vinegar.
Full start. Offense number 68. Half the distance of the goal. Still first down.
And boom, we've seen this empty backfield formation. And you'll notice this league-wide. You'll see a lot of penalties in this empty formation. Procedure penalties because those five bigs up front are paranoid. They know they don't have that security blanket at the back in the backfield to help them in protection. So you're going to see it's a challenge for those linemen up front every time you get into empty.
Now it's 1st and 15, shadow of their own goalpost, two tight ends, but Palmer's going to throw it and throw it long. And long it is. Michael Floyd certainly came into his own last year and has come into his own on the second series for the Cardinals. Sharice Wright beaten and dragged him down, or else it would have been a 97-yard touchdown.
And you can see the attention that Larry Fitzgerald gets there. He runs the corner route. The safety comes out of the middle of the field to jump the corner route, leaving Sharice right on an island when he thinks he's going to have help. But how about the play call by Bruce Arians to take a shot from his own end zone?
In San Diego territory at the 38. Floyd in motion to the bottom. And this is the shifty Andre Ellington, second-year man from Clemson. Melvin Ingram on the tackle, and Carson Palmer. You know, they like to go long, don't they?
They really do. He can throw it down the field as well as any quarterback in the National Football League. If it wasn't for those interceptions, he's stolen so many over the course of his career. Now, a lot of that's because he hasn't played with great personnel. But in terms of production of yards, touchdowns, a guy that can rip it around the yard, everybody in the league understands Carson Palmer can push the ball around with the best of them.
Multiple tight ends set again in tight. There's Ellington. Ooh, and the ball is loose. And Arizona is very, very fortunate that Bobby Massey, the right tackle, cradled it as Ellington was popped. Now, Legit says, wait a minute, you didn't get it. What about us? Donald Butler, 56.
70 had possession of the ball on the ground, down by contact, third down.
Which is correct.
And that was a heck of a play by Bobby Massey to hustle to get this ball. Andre Ellington misses a couple days of practice, hurts his foot, not sure he's going to play tonight. You got to wonder, is he worried about his foot there? Ball gets stripped out, but Bobby Massey, the awareness to jump on that ball, that is a huge play by the big and right tackle.
That whistle blew. There were a couple of footballs on the field. And I know Arizona likes to run an interesting offense. And they're going to challenge that one, huh? Well, they ruled that Massey was down. We're going to have to take another look. What do you think, Trent?
We got to see at what point did Bobby Massey have possession if he was being touched by a San Diego Charger at that time. In real time, it looked like he had possession.
Well, we're not going to see from that angle if it came out.
Doesn't look like he has it, but right. This is going to be a tough one. It's very unclear whether he has possession of the ball. Looks like it's rolling around down there. There's some business going on in there trying to get the ball.
I think it probably came out, but I don't think we can really see it definitively. What do you think?
I'm with you. I don't know how they're going to judge.
Well, they're going to have to. It's their job. We'll be back. Scoreless game, but a lot of actions. Yellow flags, red challenge flags to Mike McCoy. Bobby Massey, does he have it, or does Donald Butler?
Well, after we got to see it a few times in the break, I don't think Bobby Massey ever gets it. You can see his right arm never has a chance to secure it. It's being pinned against his body. And then Donald Butler right here, as that ball's bouncing around, secures it with 2 arms and comes out of the pile with it. I think that's enough evidence to overturn this and give the Chargers the football.
Member involved, going back to command center, if you will, in New York this year. Chargers offense, some of which are coming on the field, but we don't know yet. Both teams trying to hustle it on offense. Both have had a delay of game. Both have had a couple of 20, or in Arizona's case, longer than that, completions. They're not holding anything at the beginning, are they?
No. Not uncommon, and we saw it all day yesterday, to see some early regular season rust. You hope, as an offense, that rust presents itself in the form of some mental mistakes, missed assignments, and not the egregious penalties and obviously the turnovers. This would be a huge turnover for the Arizona Cardinals to absorb, considering they get the momentum coming out of their own deep part of the field. They hit the big deep ball to Michael Floyd. They're getting Andre Ellington involved in the game as a runner to cough it up. It's not just losing the ball, it's now the confidence that Bruce Arians has in Andre Ellington the rest of the game. This is a guy, he said he wants to get an average of 25 to 30 touches a game. Now, to put that in context, only Adrian Foster's touched the ball that much in a season on an average in the last 4 years.
After reviewing the play, ruling on the field is reversed. Number 70 never had possession of the ball. The ball is loose and recovered by San Diego. And San Diego's ball, 1st and 10. They're not charging a timeout. No on challenge.
There you go. Good move by the Chargers.
And boom, Marcus Gilchrist comes up with the forced fumble there, but that's something Eric Weddle, the star safety for Chargers, has emphasized over and over with me. Him and defense coordinator John Pagano stressing disruption, turnover, chaos on defense. Let's make them uncomfortable, even on a standard run play like that. You see Gilchrist coming there, never give up, try to get that ball jarred from Andre Ellington.
And who did it? The Butler did it. Donald Butler with the cover. The Chargers in business now at their own 28 on 1st and 10. Ryan Matthews. You can see his shoes all the way up here in the booth. He is the lone back behind Phillip Rivers. Matthews. Pretty good hole off the left side with Keith Dunlop as the left tackle. Picks up about 5. By the way, Frosty Rucker, the right defensive end where they ran at, is left calf injury, may not return, so the Chargers seeing what was there right away. Trent.
Great movement by the left side of the San Diego Chargers offensive line. And I can't stress enough, this no-huddle offense allows Phillip Rivers to get up to the line of scrimmage and do this, where he's directing traffic. He's getting everybody on the same page, but he's getting the look he wants to run the play. The last play, it's a run, but you never know what he's finding is advantageous for him and his offense.
2nd and 6. Rivers. Long. Going up for it. Keenan Allen off excellent coverage by Patrick Peterson. Is as good as it gets. Tempting fate on that one.
And Patrick Peterson, one of the elite players in this league. Great technique, doesn't panic, turns his head back to the ball. It's a common mistake you see a lot of quarterbacks make. They turn into the receiver here. Patrick Peterson feels Keenan Allen, turns back to the ball, allows him to disrupt that play and not allow Keenan Allen to make the play. That's why Patrick Peterson, not just his skill set, but his technique allows him to be one of the great players in this league.
Third and 6. Here come the Cardinals. And there goes Phillip Rivers to Eddie Royal for a first down over the midfield stripe. The 20-yard pickup off a big blitz for Arizona.
Talked about Philip Rivers getting the looks he wants. He gets man coverage, single safety. Crossing routes kill this. He's gone to the tight end, but now he gets the second layer across. When you're facing man coverage as a quarterback, you can't live on one route alone. You know that these deep over routes, these crossing routes, the runaways, as they're called, are man beaters. So far, every time Philip Rivers has a chance to get into one of those versus man coverage, he's been able to capitalize on it.
Good pickup by Donald Brown on a big block in the backfield. 34. Woodhead in now, and the Chargers are in Cardinals territory. Rivers, a lot of autonomy, almost Peyton Manning-like. First down, coming back for it is Malcolm Floyd. He's hurt, second game of the year, neck injury, Philly. Malcolm Floyd, who, he has one of the highest per catch averages of any of the active players, over 17 yards. He had a good play on a ball that was behind.
And Philip was so excited to have him back, not just because of his big play potential, but system versatility. They're in a no huddle, but they just ran on a whole new personnel grouping. Again, gives an opportunity to get to the line of scrimmage and play a tempo they want to play at.
2nd and 5, Ryan Matthews spilled in the backfield. Again, very active Larry Foote among the Cardinals.
And Boom, you've heard me talk about this. Run defense is about knockback. Who's going to knock back who? Larry Foote right now comes in and just delivers an absolute slobber knocker on David Johnson, the guy playing fullback there. Disrupts the entire play, and actually they had a hole. If Larry Foote doesn't create that knockback right there, there was a running lane. That was a great play by the veteran Larry Foote.
4-yard loss makes it 3rd and a long 9. Rivers out of the hands and incomplete of Royal. So San Diego forces the turnover. They pick up 1 first down. And now Mike Cypress will try to pin the Cardinals in deep in an entertaining, albeit scoreless, first quarter.
And you got to love the mentality of the Arizona Cardinals defense. They've been burned in their man coverage now 3 times on crossing routes. They lined up on that down and play what they play every other down. Man free, challenged them.
Ted Ginn is deep. He'll let it go behind him and right at the goal line, but whoa, almost backed up the L wedge there at the goal line, but not quite. Carson Palmer not afraid to throw deep in his own territory. We'll be back.
ESPN celebrating 45 years of Monday Night Football.
Welcome back, everybody, to the University of Phoenix Stadium, the site this year of Super Bowl 49, and actually the week before that, the Pro Bowl. So this will be the postseason site, 2 straight weeks as the NFL concludes its season. Week 1 will conclude when we are done tonight. A little more action than that preseason game these two teams played 11 days ago in San Diego. 7 field goals won by the Chargers, 12-9. 1st and 10, Cardinals their own 20. Fake to Jonathan Dwyer. Palmer. And that's a nice pitch and catch to the youngster we talked about, John Brown.
And we've seen something so far, Boom, that's something that Carson Palmer does as well as anybody. Out-breaking routes to his right side. John Brown gets a great vertical push, runs the deep stem route. That ball's in the air, so John Brown can locate it. It's anticipated. The other thing, Carson Palmer loves the in-breaking routes to his left. We saw that on the big post already so far.
1st and 10 at the 36. And the Cardinals keep it on the ground with Jonathan Dwyer. Carson Palmer. When they were 7-2, you could see what happened here, huh, Trent?
Hey, the last 9 games that Carson Palmer played this offense, he told us, he said he just started to get familiar with how they handle protection redirects, how Bruce Arians calls the game, what he's looking for, the feel he had with the receivers, especially Larry Fitzgerald. He started to actually feel like himself again, and it showed in his play and his numbers.
2nd down, Palmer a quick swing to Floyd. And a pretty sure-handed tackle by quarterback Sharice Wright.
Love this play by Sharice Wright. You're a corner out there on an island. Michael Floyd gets the ball, all 6'3", 215 pounds of him. You're staring at a mano-a-mano matchup, and he just fires his gun and brings Michael Floyd down. That is a nice play by Sharice Wright.
149 straight games with a catch. I know we're still in the first quarter, but Trent, if I'm not mistaken, they haven't thrown at Larry Fitzgerald yet. That's something to keep in mind. 3rd and 4. Cardinals. Their own 42. Whoa! Carson Palmer thought the play was over. Almost makes, and he does make something of nothing. But Jason Verrett is going to be called for pass interference. So Arizona got fortunate there. It could have been big trouble.
Hey, the best part of that play was Carson Palmer catching it.
Defense number 38. 5-yard penalty.
So the completion was at the beginning, not the end.
Exactly. Carson Palmer's walking up to the line of scrimmage to change the protection or get him out of the play. There's a motion. Look at, he's directing a possible blitz. Ball gets snapped, catches it with his throat, has the awareness to know where his hot throw is to Teddy Ginn, and gets away, turning a bad play into a productive play.
Now the center is a veteran, Lyle Senline, one of 4 Cardinals left from the team that went to the Super Bowl in 2008 and lost that heartbreaker to the Steelers. Palmer pumps. And you don't see him do this often. Well, now he throws on the move, and it is almost picked off. Reading it perfectly was Eric Weddle.
And you could see that unfolding. It was a broken play, second reaction play. Carson Palmer's moving to his right, and he sees Hauser, the tight end, coming on the crossing route, and for a while he has him. But you got to understand, Weddle's coming downhill on this play. The longer that ball's in the air, the better chance he has of the defense getting his hands on it first. Trust me, I made that mistake 100 times in my career. Somehow they always seem to catch him when I throw him, though.
Weddle with 18 career interceptions, 2 of them last year. Almost came up with that one. The bearded wonder, the Pro Bowl safety, defensive captain, Chargers. 2nd down, Palmer pumps once. And again on the far side, that is the #1 pick, Jason Verrett, the 25th pick overall. And they expect some big things from this young man from Fairfield, California.
And Carson trying to go with the rookie, but notice when he threw it to the right, that ball got there a little earlier. He anticipated better. This one to his left, because there was some contact at the top of the route, holds it a little bit longer. Not sure what John Brown's, the angle he's going to come out. The ball doesn't get there quite as soon. Verrett's able to make the play on it. The timing in the passing game against good corners, so important.
3rd and 10. Deep down the right sideline to Floyd, and that's too far. And good coverage again that time by Sharice Wright. So Palmer has time on most of these plays, but actually Achilles' heel for the Chargers has been some of their pass coverage on the outside. I know Floyd had the deep bomb. A little better, don't you think, Trent?
It is, and some of it's coverage dictated. I've already seen about 6, 7 different coverage profiles by the San Diego Chargers, making Carson Palmer think a little bit more.
So Drew Butler to kick it. And into the end zone. Over the head. And so San Diego and Phillip Rivers will come out on the 20 in a scoreless game late in the first quarter. Back here in Arizona. Entertaining first quarter. There's nothing on the scoreboard, but teams are coming out firing. We expect some fireworks on the right side of that with the 2 zeros are pretty quickly. Phillip Rivers, San Diego Chargers, who last year led the league in 10-play drives, led the league in points on 10 or more play drives, led the league in 3rd down conversions at 49%, led the league in time of possession. See if they can get one of those going right here. Danny Woodhead in the backfield. Woodhead, and it crawls ahead for about 4, and Trent, a lot of faces not back for Arizona's defense.
This was one of the best defenses in the National Football League last year. mostly because these guys that aren't even here tonight. Darnell Dockett, inspirational leader, disruptor in the defensive front, gone, injured reserve. Darrell Washington, one of the most athletic linebackers, versatile linebackers in all of football, suspended. Jeremiah Bell retired. Carlos Dansby, he was the field general for this defense. He signs a free agent, and the Honey Badger playmaker out tonight with an injury.
2nd and 5. Again, it's Woodhead, not so much available that time. And so here is the defense. Dan Williams, a nose tackle, made the tackle on that play. Tommy Kelly has gone in for Frosty Rucker at defensive tackle. The former Raider, just released a week ago by the Patriots. Calais Campbell, as good as it gets. You've seen Larry Foote active. Remember, John Abraham is here. And at corners, Antonio Cromartie joining Patrick Peterson. So that's two pretty good names at the corner spot for these Arizona Cardinals, the Bruce Arians of 2014. Donald Brown and Phillip Rivers talking. That's Eddie Royal in motion. Royal out of his hands, incomplete.
While the Chargers dial up the perfect play for a 3rd and short, a little switch route, angle route by Eddie Royal versus man coverage. Ball's located perfectly right in the chest, right past the first down markers. Eddie Royal can't secure the catch. This is why we don't see any points, because of a lack of execution on critical downs by both teams.
12th year in the league, Mike Cyphers will punt for the Chargers. Again, it's a high one. Ted Ginn, dangerous, but fair catch. So we won't know how dangerous it is yet. Weekdays, ESPN is your source for the latest NFL news. First at 3, it's the NFL Insiders, focusing on the biggest NFL news stories and information each day. And certainly today there was some. Then at 4, Trey Wingo and the gang. Panel of experts, team breakdowns and analysis. NFL Insiders at 3, NFL Live at 4 every weekday. ESPN and watch ESPN. Just probably time for one play, unless it's an incomplete pass, and this first quarter will go in the books as scoreless. Arizona, pretty good position. 1st and 10 at their own 34. Andre Ellington, and a good stop made by Melvin Ingram. Again, big things expected of him this year. We saw it in December and in the playoff game, and that'll do it for the first quarter. Entertaining, a lot of action, a lot of energy. They're coming. They're coming. We'll be back. Welcome back to Arizona. Chris Berman, Trent Dilfer, Lindsey Zarniak with you on our Monday night doubleheader game. Always a treat to do this. I feel like I'm the Charlie Jones of the 21st century. We always get the Chargers. Happy to do it, and we're happy to see Arizona. Two teams we think will really make a mark. They did last year.
Hey, Bill, I'm used to being the backup quarterback.
Well, we like it. We got one game to air it
better
out.
as the backup than the starter.
And you're always rooting for it.
Exactly.
Well, you are, maybe not me. All right, 2nd down. We begin the second quarter scoreless. Cardinals and Chargers. Oh, there's a big hole. And that's what we can see Ellington can do. Andre Ellington averaged 5.53 yards per carry last year, the best in the NFL. When you're brought down by the two safeties, Weddle and Gilchrist, that's a good sign for the offense.
And just a zone play to the left, but that ghost action, meaning the receiver coming over the top of the quarterback right there, faking the reverse. Great job picking up the blitz, creates that seam inside. The backside has to hold because of that reverse, so Ingram can't chase the play down. Beautiful play design, great execution.
Good block center, Lyle Sendline. 1st down, Palmer. Floyd. Deep into Charger territory. Big pickup, Arizona. However,
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Defense number 94. After this is the goal. Automatic 1st down.
well, there's no however. Corey Liuget just gets the Chargers more in trouble. 29-yard play from Palmer to Floyd started it, and here's the end of it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Good pace.
That's the one, though, of all these rule emphases, emphasis. That's the one that really gets me. I get it. We want to protect the head. We want to protect the quarterback. These defensive players are doing everything they can to get in, disrupt the quarterback, try to get their hands up to knock the ball, comes down, hits the quarterback face. There's very little damage that can be done with that. That is one that really sits poorly with me league-wide, that we're calling that a 15-yard penalty.
41 yards when you add up the penalty to the big pickup. This is Dwyer, Jonathan Dwyer, over from Pittsburgh, and the Chargers close on that one pretty quickly. Lawrence Guy is the guy in there, for the tackle, moving in at defensive end. And so it'll be just inside 10.
And getting back to that personal foul, Boom, I mean, I can't blame a quarterback defending defensive linemen. But they're gap plays. Those penalties become gap plays, game-altering plays. Those are huge chunks of yards, and it's punishing great effort by defensive linemen. These aren't egregious helmet-to-helmet hits on the quarterback. This is a brush of the hand to the helmet.
Palmer, Ellington makes the one-handed grab, evades one tackle, and is down to about the 2. Now they're marking out at the 4, but a really good play. Melvin Ingram kind of knocked him out, but boy, Ellington is fast. Over 1,000 yards from scrimmage last year, Trent.
Nice decision by Carson Palmer. The defense gets deep. He gets a swing route to Andre Ellington. Andre Ellington gets a little extra. Melvin Ingram trying to get in there, make a play. That one looked as much of a penalty as the play before when Melvin Ingram got called on the quarterback.
3rd and 3 from the 4. Palmer, too much. So coverage on John Brown, rookie on rookie again. Brett covering John Brown, and San Diego holds at the 4, and now we will see the new kicker. Remember, Jay Feely was let go last week. Chandler Catanzaro, the rookie from Clemson. Dave Zastudil hurt, not punting tonight, but the first game ever for the rookie kicker. You don't want to alter the holder as well, so he will hold. The kick is up, and the Cardinals are on the board with the first score of the game.
And look at the nice play by the rookie, Jason Brent. Watch the feet. They say this kid has unique feet. Look at him. Stay square. Young corner, stay square as long as you can. Disrupt within 5 yards. Get your eyes back at the ball. That's teaching tape by young Jason Brent right there.
ESPN Monday Night Football brought to you by Applebee's new cross-cut ribs, and by NFLShop.com. Get free shipping on orders today at the official store of the NFL. We saw the Valley of Rain, a record rainfall today in Phoenix. This Saturday night outside the stadium, the sandstorm. Tomorrow night is a full moon. We've seen the rain. I mean, really? Catanzaro, 1 for 1 in his NFL career with the kickoff. Donald Brown, and he booms that kick. One of the reasons he won the job over Jay Feely, the kickoffs. Let's go down to Lindsey Czarniak. Linz?
Hey, Boomer, the Chargers are about to have a new center go on the field because Nick Hardwick came off after the last possession. He was really gingerly testing his left ankle, so the Chargers have said he is suffering from a left ankle injury. He did leave the field to have further tests, and Rich Ohrnberger is going out there right now, the new center, number 74. He was over here working out with some teammates, so we'll see what he's got.
Well, Ohrnberger he went in the playoffs, and Hardwick was injured. Did a good job. Hardwick and Phillip Rivers were drafted together in 2004. They've been together a long time. 2 offensive captains. So the center is out. Thank you, Lindsey. Rivers to throw on first down. That's Ryan Matthews. Larry Foote knocks him out of bounds, but a nice sharp pickup of about 8 yards. So here's what happened to Hardwick in the middle there, number 61, Trent.
Nick Hardwick, one of the great centers in this league, dropping in pass protection. This is typically how it happens right there. Guy rolls over you, nothing you can do about it.
So Ohrnberger, the new center, once upon a time a 4th-round draft pick of the New England Patriots from East Meadow, New York. Rivers barking at Matthews, backs him up. Trying to get the first down, but not quite, is Matthews. Kevin Minter, one of the 3 LSU starters when the Honey Badgers there on defense for these Arizona Cardinals, second-round pick of a year ago. An outstanding special teams player. And now the Chargers have a 3rd and 1, and the fans want defense. Timeout. Didn't like what he was looking at. He thinks it over, right? On a 3rd and 1. 3-0 Cardinals, second quarter.
Boom, there's been a enthusiasm for the evolution of the quarterback position. But I want to show you something here. These are traditional guys, right? This is a pretty good group of quarterbacks. You see Carson there, you see Phillip in there. I put it, availability is the best ability. We get so caught up in numbers, fantasy football, we forget to win football games, you got to count on your starter. Guys that play from the pocket don't get hurt as much. That's why this is done. If you look at the past few years, you look at guys that play from the pocket, they get injured less than this new generation of quarterback. You see it right here. Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Tony Romo, Phillip Rivers, 132 most games played since 2005. Carson Palmer on that list. Don't underestimate the value of having your starter there every week. That's a big product to be able to play from the pocket.
3rd and 1. Matthews. I don't know. I don't think so. Really close. Doesn't look like he got it, Trent. That Cardinals really stacked up the middle.
Very little push by the San Diego Chargers offensive front. Normally in those short yard situations, they'll run right over their big young tackle, DJ Fluker. There they decided to go kind of inside to the left. But the Arizona Cardinals so stout in the middle of that defense, even missing Frosty Rucker tonight. Darnell Dockett for the season. But look at that. Look at the leverage play right there. It looks like the Chargers got just enough. I give Ryan Matthews credit for somehow finding a crease in there to get enough for the first down.
Now, first, I was just looking at the spot. Wasn't making a comment. The foot came down shy.
I didn't think he had it at first.
30. Chargers will take it. A very important yard. Now 1st and 10. Play action, Rivers long. Malcolm Floyd. Not quite.
Oh, man, you talk about dialing up the perfect ball play on 1st down. They go with a corner post play action. Look at Malcolm Floyd. Nice route. Goes corner fake, but then he stumbles right here. That's all you need. He loses just enough speed to not catch up to that ball. Beautiful first half of the route. You got to finish it and maintain your angle and speed because Phillip Rivers let that thing go before he stumbled there. I like the aggressive play call on 1st down, though.
2nd and 10, 30-yard line. 3-0 Arizona, second quarter. Arizona had that one snipped out. There's Kevin Minter and Larry Foote, the 2 inside linebackers, saying, you know, I know we lost those guys that Trent was talking about, but we're the #1 rush defense of last year, and we still think we are. And let's look at Larry Foote now. It's the 2nd time this game he shot a gap. He sees something in the blocking scheme of the San Diego Chargers, allowing him to shoot those gaps. He's unaccounted for coming through the line of scrimmage at that speed. The offensive line are expecting him to be 3-4 yards deep. He shoots the gap, makes a dynamic play in the backfield. 4 wides and Woodhead. 3rd and 14. And Malcolm Floyd can't make that catch with some very good coverage from Antonio Cromartie. Of course, played the bulk of his career with San Diego as a 1st-round pick in 2006. Was there for some outstanding teams. 19th pick overall back then out of Florida State. Went over to the Jets. He and Patrick Peterson. Now that's quite a tandem, Trent. Love how Antonio Cromartie played that play. He gave just enough cushion. He wasn't going to get beat past the change, but squatted enough to be able to make a play on the ball. 4 possessions, more 4 Mike Cypher's punts. And a fair catch made by Ted Ginn Jr. 3-0 in the desert, second quarter. 3-0 Arizona, the final game of the opening weekend, stretching from Thursday night to Monday night, second quarter. Of course, you know the news today. Ray Rice, no longer a member of the Baltimore Ravens. The continuation of what happened when a film of he and his soon-to-be wife in the elevator was seen by everybody, waived immediately by the Ravens, suspended indefinitely by the NFL. He probably won't play football again for good reason. And so now there's a lot to be talked about here as we get set for action. And the Ravens acted right away, didn't they, Trent?
They did.
As they had to.
Yeah, I talked to Baltimore Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti this morning. He woke up this morning to seeing the video for the first time, went into the office, met with his leadership, front management team, acted quickly, decisively, really had no other choice but to release him from their organization. 1st and 10 Arizona at their own 33. Quick throw outside to Michael Floyd, and a quick punch out there by Brandon Flowers. And so, look, it goes beyond it. Again, the Ravens quickly, it was not any call they got from the league. As we understand, it was very quickly done. But it's larger than just football in Baltimore, isn't it? It really is. I mean, you know, my role as head coach of Nike Grassroots Football, I encounter over 1,000 of the very best high school football players in the country every year. And every one of them dreams of playing on Sundays and Mondays. That's the ultimate goal. And I think the NFL did a great job of sending a stern message, which is, listen, it's more than being a great football player. You got to win off the field as well.
Palmer is wrapped up for a big sack there by the Chargers, by Corey Legion. And look, it may be, it's much larger. People who saw this today, many of whom are casual, if at all, football fans, they're outraged, quite understandably. And then to be a football player can be anybody punching a female in an elevator in a 10-second. I think the NFL, which prides itself on being leaders, and rightly so, it's even larger than just football, as you suggest. Youth football issues continue in a moment. Palmer, oh, he's not wrapped up, and he's just trying to get out. And the Chargers have held, and that's Eric Weddle. But it is, Trent, the NFL has a chance, well, not as a chance, has an obligation in my mind to help those who need help right now. We could make a list of what that means, but this is something that, take a leadership role in society. There are those that need help right now, and get involved. The message is clear to anybody playing football, but the message has to go way beyond, and some need help, and the punt is blocked. Punt is blocked by the Chargers, and the ball is still loose. Jerry Atauchu, the second-round draft pick who has a knack for this in college, did it. A rookie punter, why not send him?
And really a tremendous effort by Jerry Atauchu. Knifes inside, tremendous athlete. The awareness, though, to know where that intersection point is, where the ball is going to be coming off the foot, reaches out, makes the play, and then the San Diego Chargers hustling to get on the ball. We talked about game-altering plays. This is another one of them early in the game. Now the challenge on the San Diego Chargers, you got to capitalize on sudden change. One of the big things Mike McCoy stressed to his team this offense is finishing in the red zone. They were 50% last year, 26th in the league. This is what they've worked on all offseason. You get a game-changing play like that, you've got to punch it in the end zone.
And the Chargers have forced a couple of turnovers and a little trickery here, but it won't go very far as Eddie Royal with wheels was knocked out by Tony Jefferson. But number 91, Matt Shaughnessy from Norwich, Connecticut, doing a very good job.
Yeah, nice job staying home by Matt Shaughnessy. Doesn't get sucked inside on the reverse. He's able to limit that play to a yard. That was a special play by the Chargers. They dialed up, and that look, they thought that was going to go for a lot more.
2nd and 8, Ryan Matthews. The middle squirts for a few.
This is a situation, if you're the San Diego Chargers, you've got to be thinking somehow get the ball to one of our 2 tight ends. This is an historically bad defense by the Arizona Cardinals last year against tight ends. When I say historically, they were the worst ever. They gave up 17 touchdown passes to tight ends. Here you have open set, a lot of room for Antonio Gates to work underneath.
3rd and 6. It's Woodhead coming in near Rivers. A little shovel pass that goes nowhere. Thomas Kaiser, released by the Chargers a week ago, in on the play for Arizona. Well, he had a big game in that Thursday night win in Denver in December last year for San Diego. Now he comes back to haunt his old team.
Phillip Rivers trying to change his arm angle to hit the underneath route to Keenan Allen. Another shallow cross, trying to emphasize this. Really nice play by Kaiser, getting his hands on the ball.
So good stand, big stand by the Arizona defense. Nick Novak deciphers to hold with a 31-yard field goal attempt.
Delay game. Offense number 5. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
I lied, a 36-yard field goal attempt.
You just shouldn't have these types of substitution mistakes in special teams. I know it's the first week of the season, but this is what drives coaches crazy. I'm sure Coach Gruden right now is pulling his hair out watching this, because as a head coach, you expect on this week, it was Saturday, you go through all these special team substitutions. This is something you expect to have dialed in so you're not taking those 5-yard penalties and scoring opportunities.
So now Novak from 5 yards farther back. 34 of 37 last year in field goals. 1 for 1 this year in field goals. So these 2 teams have played a preseason game, and now they're into their 6th quarter. 9 field goals between the 2 of them against each other. Nothing else. College football on ABC continues Saturday. Butch Jones and Tennessee look for the upset on the road against senior quarterback Trevor Knight and number 4 ranked Oklahoma Boomer Sooners. Tennessee against Oklahoma at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC. San Diego 3, Arizona 3. 6 minutes even left in an entertaining, albeit low scoring. 6 minutes left in the first half. Chris Berman, Trent Dilfer, Lindsey Zarniak as the 2 warhorse quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers and Carson Palmer, trying to dial something up. But a stand by Arizona after a blocked punt. I mean, deep in the territory, there was nothing going San Diego, Trent.
No, that was a huge stop by the Cardinals, but you got to be extremely disappointed in San Diego Chargers. You emphasize the entire offseason scoring those situations. You start your season getting one on a major change of momentum, and you end up kicking the field goal.
Ted Ginn trying to come out, and Jerry Atauchu, who just blocked the punt, made the tackle.
And look at this, Tom Moore, one of the legendary coaches in this league, working with Carson Palmer. Look at him going through the iPad. I wonder how long it took him to learn how to use the iPad to scroll through the pictures. But in all seriousness, one of the great coaches our league's ever seen. Carson Palmer talked about him glowingly in our meetings, talked about how he's got that perfect balance of being able to give him the appropriate information without all the mindless chatter, the hyper coaching that some people do, where he says the right thing at the right time. Really credits him for adjusting this offense so quickly last season.
One of the great people in our game. So Arizona begins on their 15. Carson Palmer, look out! Spins away. And now they gets a flag out of it. Oh my, that play had disaster written all over it for Arizona. And now they're going to make the big pickup. And who could not wrap someone that's wrapped up quarterbacks as good as anybody in the last 10+ years? Dwight Freeney had him, but Freeney missed almost all of last year.
Defense number 29. Spot foul. Automatic first down.
108 sacks in his career, could not get 109.
And the Cardinals are throwing the eyes at it early, and Larry Fitzgerald has not been targeted. Carson Palmer's looking right. Larry Fitzgerald on the under route. Freeney can't pull him down. Now Carson Palmer escapes, and Sharice Wright just panics here in a broken play. And Michael Floyd going vertical after this. Watch Carson Palmer spin out of this. Nice strong base, is able to get out of it. But right here, Chargers should still win the play, and Sharice Rice just panics in a trail situation against Michael Floyd.
So it could have been a 7 or 8 yard loss, ends up being a 15-yard pickup. Jonathan Dwyer on the carry, picks up short yard. Did you see, though, and we've enjoyed it for years, the classic spin move by Dwight Freeney? I mean, that's like a basketball player in the post, isn't it? He's perfected that since he's been in the league.
He's as good as ever lived with this one move. Relentless pursuit of the football, and you don't expect him to not finish that play. I love how Sharice Wright, though, after panicking there and getting the PI, comes in the next play and helps in run support and makes the tackle for 1 yard.
2nd and 9, 31. Palmer escapes again. Jonathan Dwyer tries to bail him out. He does with a 3-yard pickup. Jarrett Johnson, 3rd year as a Charger, has really done a good job at line. But here's Freeney again.
Here's Freeney again. Now he gets with the swim move on Hauser's tight end. Can't finish another one. And this has been the story of the Chargers so far tonight, right? They haven't been able to finish. They haven't finished in the red zone. They haven't finished some drives in 3rd and short. And now they can't finish 2 sack opportunities on back-to-back plays.
3rd and 6. Bruce Arians looks on with the play sheet. Clock counting down. Just snaps it in time. Does Palmer. Little swing and trying to bull and not quite. And that's Sharice Wright that wraps up Ellington there. You just called his name. He's been very busy here. Looking for the spot. I don't see it.
And hats off to Sharice Wright. Makes the bad mistake on the pass interference, comes back, makes a tackle at the line of scrimmage, now comes up and runs support on Andre Ellington, a dynamic back. Mano a mano. These are tough plays for corners to make. Stays low, continues to fight to keep him from the chains, and then Marshall coming in to help him out a little bit. Nice bounce back by Sharice Wright that series.
Now Drew Butler, the rookie. See, they almost thought they got the ball, but the forward progress was stopped unless.
2nd charge timeout. San Diego. 30-second timeout.
And is this to kind of take another look at this and see if they got the ball? I would think so, Trent.
I'm unclear on why the Chargers are taking time out here unless
to look
it's
the booth, to have coaches look and see what they think. Did they get the ball? It's a little, it's a little late, isn't it? A little late, right? Jim Tunney in the booth with us, and nobody knows more about officiating than Jim Tunney. 31 years official in the NFL, 3 Super Bowls. I mean, you name them, the Ice Bowl, etc. And they took a timeout, and Jim shook his head to us. Nope, they didn't get it, and that's why they didn't challenge, right? That had to be why they took a timeout.
Well, based on some of the odd things we've seen so far tonight with personnel, with substitution issues, with some of the dysfunction, the line of scrimmage, with changing protections, it's first game of the season. You're going to see some mistakes by coaches as well as players.
It's a long wait for a 30-second timeout. We have a 3-3 game where we tried to say was Drew Butler, the rookie kicker, son of Kevin, had his last punt blocked by a Tauchu. It's interesting. They're showing it on the board. There's a lot of Charger fans that made the 5-hour drive. Kind of think they got the ball, but then again, and they never did a challenge. they got the extra look out of it. That's what the timeout was worth, I guess, Trent. So now Butler gets this one off. Good kick. Eddie Royal deep and lets it go, and it goes into the end zone. And the touchback will bring the ball out to the 20 in a 3-3 game. Entertaining, yes. The Chargers mount something in the last 3+ minutes of the half. Back at the site of Super Bowl 49 coming up February 1st, site of the Pro Bowl, the site of Monday Night Football. Chris Berman, Trent Dilfer, Lindsey Zarniak, our producer Tim Corrigan, our director Mike Schwab. Good to be together with everybody. Hope you're enjoying it. I know it's getting late in the East, even the Central Time Zone, but don't be fooled by 3-3. That's all I'm going to say. Trent, give me an attaboy look. See what Phillip Rivers can do from his own 20. Not a lot on that play. Again, Larry Foote has been all over, playing good defense. A pass complete to Keenan Allen. Pickup of about 4. 2nd and 6. 3 minutes.
If you're the Chargers, you have to start playing fast at some point, snapping the ball, so all this other extracurricular stuff makes sense, and that's what they do right here.
Ryan Matthews into the secondary. First down, San Diego. They move the chains, and the clock keeps moving.
So, boom, what I'm getting at there is, so all game long we've talked about Phillip Rivers at the line of scrimmage directing traffic, but what they haven't established yet was what they did right there is playing fast, getting up, and then snapping the ball and catching the Arizona Cardinals relaxing. They finally did that. Now the Cardinals defense has to react to all this window dressing up front.
Just their 4th first down. Hard to believe. Good job, Arizona. Here come the Cardinals. Rivers steps up. Antonio Gates bobbled and dropped. But Dwight Freeney missed 2 sacks. Gates didn't pull it down.
Eddie Royal drops one early. You got to finish him. This is a great job of pass protection by the Chargers. Phillip Rivers climbing in the soft spot, throwing the ball across his body to his left. And Antonio Gates, future Hall of Fame tight end, dropping a gimme right there. That's 2 drop balls. Don't finish in the red zone. Don't convert a 3rd and short. Tough for the Chargers.
Caught 2 balls in the first drive, Trent, and that's been it for him so far. 2nd and 10, 32. Ryan Matthews, Rivers' pass is complete to him, and that's the Charger first down. Pickup of about 12.
Nice play right there. Got a vertical route combination going down the field. Phillip Rivers out the play action, looking deep, understands where his outlet is. Nice, accurate throw to Ryan Matthews. Allows him to turn upfield, get the distance for the first down.
2-minute warning. San Diego's picked up a couple of first downs in a 3-3 game. Coming up at the half, the Toyota halftime, and certainly big news today in the NFL. Ray Rice released this morning by the Baltimore Ravens, and Adam and Mort will be on board to talk about that moving forward and what it means. Lions rolling up a big win at home over the Giants. We'll have highlights. Trey Wingo will carry you through it. Trey, don't get too comfortable in that chair, okay? 2-minute warning now. The Chargers in business. 1st and 10 at their own 44. A 3-3 game. Rivers to Woodhead. Foot wraps him up after pickup of about 7. Right around the midfield stripe. Rich Hornberger in for Nick Hardwick with a block there.
And boom, this is where the great quarterbacks in the league do their most damage, especially Phillip Rivers. Last year tied for the lead with most touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of the first half. Over the last 4 years, he has 14, second best. This is where the quarterback surgeons in the National Football League finish off halves.
Rivers in trouble, running. First down at about the 40. So we've seen Carson Palmer on the move. We've seen now Rivers on the move a little bit out of necessity.
Well, it starts because his instincts are to climb. Most guys want to pull out right or left, climb up inside. Those pass rushers are going around you, and even Philip Rivers, who's not the most fleet of foot, can find that open space to get enough for the first down.
Gerard Powers with the hit on him. 1st and 10 San Diego. It's a wobbler looking for Gates, and that won't be complete. So 2nd down with 53 seconds to go in a 3-3 game.
And this is what the Cardinals are going to do. Anytime their backs are against the wall, they're going to bring pressure. Dewan Buchanan comes in on the inside blitz, pushes right up the middle of the pocket, makes Philip Rivers release the ball too soon. Look at all that stuff coming up inside so the quarterback can't climb. Forces Philip Rivers to throw the ball sooner than he would like.
Allen and Royal and Gates to the bottom of your screen. Woodhead in the backfield. Malcolm Floyd to the top. Rivers. And that's a good catch made by Gates. It won't go very far. It's Tony Jefferson, the free agent pickup from Uruguay, Oklahoma.
Not a lot of urgency right here by the Chargers to get the line of scrimmage. They got one timeout.
I know it.
We're at 30 seconds. They got to get this ball snapped.
Rivers picked off. Gerard Powers, who just made a hit, now made a bigger hit.
And
It took a long time to. The whole thing looks sloppy.
Well,
you called it.
Philip Rivers is ticked off right now, and rightfully so. We're in a situation where you have a crossing route right now by Eddie Royal coming inside. Rule of thumb, inside pressure. You can't stop. You cannot let that defensive player stop you from maintaining your path. Worst scenario there, that's going to be an incomplete pass, maybe a completion. Most likely is going to be pass interference right there. Eddie Royal has to maintain his speed and angle, especially in a blitz situation right now, because Philip Rivers can't read his body language. That ball has to come out.
Arizona with 16 seconds, 2 timeouts, so they could theoretically do some damage here if the Chargers aren't careful. Carson Palmer. Yeah, that's a quick spill out there to Ellington. They can save a timeout because he's knocked out of bounds, but they're not going to be able to use them both, I don't think. Up to almost the midfield stripe at the 49. How about that? Larry Fitzgerald not even targeted yet. Palmer with 17 pass attempts in the first half. Just unusual, isn't it?
It is. He is drawing a lot of attention. On the big play to Floyd, he took 2 defenders, but they do have to get him involved in the game.
Palmer down the field. And there you go. Cardinals in business. Teddy Ginn can move it. They weren't necessarily looking for him. And there's their timeout with 4 seconds to go. And just outstanding work with 16 seconds to go has given them a chance to take the lead going to the locker room.
It is, but this is bad defense by the Chargers. Again, there's only so many route combinations you can run in this situation. Those underneath defenders have to understand that nothing in front of you is going to hurt you with 11 seconds left, the ball at midfield. Just allowing the ball to get over your head. So right there, if you're an underneath defender, you have to get deep, come up and play anything in front of you. Instead, the underneath defense of the San Diego Chargers allows Carson Palmer to get that ball over their head and now get him in field goal position. That's just bad defense. Long yardage, end-to-half defense by the San Diego Chargers.
Rookie kicker Chandler Catanzaro. From Clemson, Dave Zastido, the veteran punter, will hold. He'll try from 44. Kick is up. Crowd tells you it's good. There's a flag, so the Chargers starting to run off. They're still talking about it, but can't imagine it'll be any different than a 6-3 lead.
Holding defense number 54. Pull and shoot. Penalties decline. Field goal's good.
3 field goals, 2 of them by Arizona. And the Cardinals lead it 6-3 at the half. Now it's time to send it to the studio for the Toyota halftime. Here's Trey Wingo. Trey?
Okay.
Week 1's not over till we say it's over. And even though it's time to light a couple of candles in the East, the Central Time Zone, there's got to be a touchdown coming. The Cardinals 6, the Chargers 3. Chris Berman and Trent Dilfer with you here. Lindsey Czarniak on the field with us. And, you know, 6-3 usually means, like we say when we watch the games, well, they're settling in. It's been a lot of action, just not a lot of finishing.
No finishing, especially by the San Diego Chargers. Some would say missed opportunities. I'd say just bad football by the San Diego Chargers. And it was everywhere. You look at Eddie Roll on a 3rd and medium, ball's located perfectly, he drops it. That's going to extend the drive. Antonio Gates, one of the most sure-handed players over the last 10 years, drops a play that's probably going to go for pretty good chunk yardage. Here at the end of the first half, blitz opportunity. Eddie Royal stops his route, leaves Phillip Rivers out hanging. Now the defense gets on the field. All you got to do is keep everything here in front of you. There's only 11 seconds left. Marcus Gilchrist allows the ball to get over his head. That's bad football. That's not to mention not finishing in the red zone. Dwight Freeney missing 2 give-me sacks right there. The San Diego Chargers, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean here.
No,
that's a
not.
Bad way to start the season.
But you block a punt deep in the territory, really go nowhere out of it. But still it's 6-3. So if you're each coach, how are you changing these offensive-minded coaches, Mike McCoy and Bruce Arians? How do you change after what you've seen from the opponent thus far?
I think if you're Mike McCoy, head coach of San Diego Chargers, you tell everybody just to, hey, quiet your mind. The only reason for what's going on is you guys are making this bigger than it actually is. Calm down. Do what we've trained to do. If you're the Cardinals, keep doing what you're doing on defense. I think offensively, they got to establish the run game so they can get some play-action pass opportunities.
And kickoff is going to be a touchback right out of the gates. The Chargers will start the second half at the 20. Lindsey Czarniak on the field. Linz, what did we learn?
Boom, exactly what you guys were talking about. Mike McCoy, he was very businesslike, and he said, you got to stop these missed opportunities, these missed plays. Bruce Arians a little lighter. He laughed coming out of the locker room and just said, we got to stop hurting ourselves. He added, this is going to be a dogfight. He said, we have to win the first 5 minutes of this third quarter, kind of like we won the end of the second.
So we begin the second half with the Cardinals on top 6-3. Ryan Matthews in the backfield with the glow at night shoes. Rivers to throw. Flag complete. And he begins avoiding a tackle. He begins the second half like he did the first half. Antonio Gates with what appears to be a good pickup for the Chargers. However,
Illegal use of hands. Hands in the face. Defense number 31. Penalties decline. Result of the play. First down.
However, nothing. Antonio Cromartie, obviously the penalty declined, as you heard the referee Bill Vinovich. 17-yard pickup. Rivers to Gates, and here we go, Trent, perhaps. First and 10, Chargers 37. Motioning Royal to come in. Ryan Matthews.
I think one thing the Chargers have to establish, Boom, and we touched on it briefly in the first half, they got to prove that they're willing to play fast in this no huddle. That play right there took forever just for a strong side zone to bring Eddie Royal on the backside to cut off the defensive end. I get it. It's a good play. But right now, you got to prove that you're willing to play fast. Tommy Kelly's played way more snaps on the defensive front for the Cardinals than they wanted him to play. Take advantage of these big guys of the Cardinals getting tired. Play at a faster tempo. That's why you're in a no huddle, the ability to change tempos throughout the game.
Loss of one. Cannon with the tackle. Second and 11. Rivers steps up. And a cross pattern to Malcolm Floyd. Tried to stripping it as Peterson, but he and Foot combined on the tackle. So the Chargers pick up about 7 on that play. Third and 4.
And again, another man beater here, crossing route. See the safety trying to cut the route, chase Malcolm Floyd down there to cover the crossing route. They've had success getting open on these crossing routes.
Cardinal down. John Abraham, one of the veterans on this team. We'll give you the update on him when we return. John Abraham here, the 133.5 sacks, first round pick of the Jets back in 2000. Head. Inadvertent.
Yeah, those are rough. I mean, it's a violent sport. John Abraham turning the corner, trying to get to the quarterback, playing hard, relentless. Runs into DJ Fluker's thigh with his head. Good thing we saw him walk off all right. And the good thing the NFL has this concussion protocol in place. He'll be examined appropriately on the sideline, not putting him at any extra risk.
3rd and 4 Chargers, their own 43. Royal comes down and goes back up. Rivers firing, and it's complete to Malcolm Floyd down the right sideline, and big pickup San Diego out of bounds near the 25. A 32-yard pickup on 3rd and 4.
A big time play. What I want everybody to see is don't get caught up in what's going on with the route. Watch Phillip Rivers when he throws this ball and where Malcolm Floyd is. Right now, that ball's halfway to him before Malcolm Floyd starts on the corner route, locates the ball. The speed of the ball is perfect. You see a lot of mistakes where that ball's thrown too hard. That is a beautiful play by Phillip Rivers, facing a blitz man coverage, understanding that the defense is vulnerable over the top on the deep corner.
Gerard Powers, who hit Rivers on a tackle and made an interception at the end of the half, beaten on that play. First down, Rivers throwing. A sliding catch by Ladarius Green down to the 11. So the Chargers have come out firing and moving out of the 6-yard line. And so it'll be 1st and goal for San Diego. There are a couple of long completions by Phillip Rivers, and very quickly here they go. Woodhead, the lone back, gets it, and a good stop there.
I like it, though. They played quick. Yes, they didn't get a lot out of the play, but they're playing fast now at the line of scrimmage. You've seen it this whole second half. What does that get you? Now it gets the Cardinals on their heels a little bit. The other thing, Cardinals, historically bad defense against tight ends last year. 2 of the first 3 passes, tight ends. Antonio Gate to start, Ladarius Green to get him down here. This is the formula the Chargers need to sit on now in the second half. Play faster, get the ball inside of the tight ends.
Empty backfield, 2nd and goal from the 6. Will we see a touchdown in this game? Rivers firing. We do. Malcolm Floyd and the Chargers have taken the lead. He thought about a spike over the goalpost and said, you know what, maybe not.
He did. What a nice drive. Put in the hands of Phillip Rivers. Right now, looking him under the Eddie Royal clears too. The timing of that throw to Malcolm Floyd. The backside safety, Rashard Johnson's going to play that ball if Phillip Rivers holds it too long. Great job anticipating the throw. Malcolm Floyd playing big in the middle of the field, securing the catch, knowing that he's going to take a lick from Johnson.
Nick Novak on to try the extra point. Will this be the last year that we see them attempted from the 10? Could be, but at the moment, they're almost all automatic. And for the first time, the Chargers have a lead in this game. It's 10-6.
And finally, a touchdown. And why? We had players play big on the first series. Phillip Rivers, the nice timing, puts his back foot in the ground, rips it in there to Malcolm Floyd. Malcolm Floyd finishes for once for the Chargers in the end zone.
These teams have played in the last 11 days, a preseason game, which was about the shortest preseason game ever. Let's get on and get off the field. Pretty bizarre when you open up with the same foe. There were 7 field goals in that. There were 3 in the first half, 10. But lo and behold, we get to quarter number 7, and there's a touchdown.
Thank goodness.
Novak to kick. Ted Ginn. What a big catch to help Arizona go in the lead at the end of the half. And shooting through nicely is Cavell Connor, a linebacker, and a big special teams play by the Chargers, and his teammates let him know about it.
What a nice play. You talk about capturing momentum on offense with the first drive of the second half. Then special teams. It's a third of the game, everybody. Boom, get down there, see your keys, fire the gap, make the play and finish. Chargers special teams offense setting the tempo for the second half. Now the defense has to step on the field and get a stop. And if you're the Cardinals, you got a sense that the Chargers have momentum right now and get it back on your side by at least getting out of this deep territory and establishing some type of drive.
First down at their own 8. They give this to Ellington, and good pursuit along the line by the Chargers, starting out with Manti Te'o in his second year in Minnie Field. And remember, he's been injured a lot of the preseason. This could be a huge step from year 1 to year 2 for Manti.
Exact same play, strong side zone with a ghost that gashed the Chargers earlier in the game. Chargers learn from the mistakes. Manti Te'o stays more disciplined, doesn't get caught up in watching that receiver on the fake reverse action, makes the play.
Well, we know it's only dinner time in Oahu, so they're up and cheering. We know that. Second down now and 10 for the Arizona Cardinals, trailing for the first time tonight, 10-6. Carson Palmer running, getting out. He makes a little something. He's actually made several times something out of nothing, Trent.
He's a much better athlete than he's ever been given credit for. That play started off ugly, though. He came out backpedaling, looking to his left like it was going to be some type of quick throw. One of the receivers must not have looked for the ball in the timing Carson Palmer expected. Nice job, though, recognizing, not making a bad play worse, getting on the perimeter, using that athleticism, and getting some positive yards.
Naismith Trophy winner back in 2002 for USC. Now 34 years of age, 3 young children. Enjoys the game of football immensely, seemingly more and more every year, he says. Certainly now, here in Arizona, year number 2. Palmer tucks it in. It's a completion, and Arizona's will pick up a first down. Jaron Brown, second-year receiver from Clemson.
Nice play by Carson Palmer here again. Doesn't get the look he's expecting and trying to reload the ball with your arm. Look at this. Boom. He wants to let it go, has to reload it, recock it. To be accurate there is very difficult. Good job by Brown working back out, giving Carson Palmer a throwing lane to convert a big third down from the Arizona Cardinals perspective.
Drive began on the 8, so a first down gets it 1st and 10 at the 21. Ellington up the middle. And we'll pick up a few. That will be Kendall Reyes, Connecticut, second-round pick in 2012. Ellington will go out. Reyes, number 91, lost his dad, surprisingly, to flu virus at 49 this last offseason in the winter, so our heart's out. We certainly know what that's like. He's playing with a heavy heart and a lot of dedication this year. His dad, Gerard, Nashua, New Hampshire, the family from. Only 49. Second down for Carson Palmer. And a quick throw to Robert Hughes, running back from Notre Dame. And for the second time in this drive, they moved the chains, Trent.
Carson Palmer likes Robert Hughes, says he's a big body with great hands. Go a little K4 action right here. That's old school language for the Y banana play that Gruden talks about. It's an opportunity to get the fullback in the flat right now. Nice safe play call on second down. Has the appearance of run. Slip an athlete out in the flat. Easy completion. Move the sticks.
1st and 10, the Cardinals, their own 32. Ellington on a lot of action, but didn't fool the Chargers. Stopped at about the line of scrimmage. By the way, Palmer connecting thus far tonight, Trent, with 8 different receivers.
Doing a nice job spreading the ball around. Aggressive play calling early in the game by head coach Bruce Arians and also the play caller. Now we're getting in this drive in the second half. That big third down helped them. They were able to run the ball, throw the ball in the flat. I would look for another vertical pass here coming up soon. Bruce Arians can't help himself. He likes to chuck the ball down the field.
Well, of those 8 receivers, none named Larry Fitzgerald.
Exactly.
Interesting. Second down and 10. The give inside is trying to make a cut and slipping is Ellington. Again, the Chargers had him snuffed around pretty good.
I wouldn't be shocked on the Fitzgerald stuff. If you look at his season last year, a new system for Carson Palmer, new head coach in Bruce Arians. Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best players in the National Football League. But there's a growing process with the quarterback and a receiver. Larry Fitzgerald only targeted 24% of the snaps last year, the lowest since 2006. But Carson and Larry both told us in our meetings, it's coming, it's coming. They have a great feel for one another. It won't surprise me if Larry Fitzgerald makes a big play coming up very soon.
3rd and 9. Palmer. Ball stripped loose. Chargers on it. Big turnover. San Diego. Jerry Atauchu, who blocked a punt, forced it loose. The Chargers traded up a little in the second round to get this linebacker from Georgia Tech. And bang, the ball was out.
And they love his athleticism. You saw his get off on the ball right there, his ability to dip, rip, and turn the corner. There's very few people in the league. This skill right there, the ability to make the tight turn on a tackle, get under, maintain your balance, and then finish the play. Bright future for Jerry Atauchu right there. Eric Weddle raved about him in our meeting. He said look for him to make a big play in this game.
And Dwight Freeney, who so often strips the ball, fell on it.
Fix it up.
Fell on it for San
finished
Diego.
again.
Can they finish this turnover? Here 1st and 10 at the Arizona 29. San Diego leading 10-6. Rivers. Keenan Allen. That'll be a pickup of about almost 10. Kevin Minter with the tackle downfield. It'll be a 2nd and 1 after a pickup of 9.
And look at Chargers playing faster, beat him on some man beaters in that last series. Now look at the look he gets. Has the appearance of man, a little bit softer profile there. Now you can get those underneath completions.
The give is to Ryan Matthews. Not much going. Good job at the line by Arizona. We see Shaughnessy, and that Larry Foote is omnipresent. Most entire career with Pittsburgh. Of course, Bruce Arians knew him when he was an assistant there under Mike Tomlin. So now 3rd and about 2 feet.
And the Chargers are the best in the National Football League in these situations. 3rd and short. Knock back on your offensive line. They barely got one earlier running left. I would think this one's going over big DJ Fluker. Big body, likes to lean on people, create enough movement.
I formation. The give is to the first back, Ryan Matthews. He's into the secondary, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, San Diego.
Chargers best team in the league last year in these situations. Knocked back. Look at that movement. It was actually by the left side of the offensive line, caving in the front side of the Arizona Cardinals defense. Inside dive play. Matthews, great vision on the cutback and the ability to finish. Got skinny right there on the individual tackle. Finishes in the hole. Finishes in the end zone. Beautiful job. Sudden change by the San Diego Chargers, sticking to their plan, ramming it in the end zone.
Tauchu forces the fumble. Freeney falls on it. King Dunlap, the left tackle. Chad Reinhardt, the left guard with big blocks. And Nick Novak with the extra points. So 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns, San Diego here in the 3rd quarter. And they all of a sudden lead 17-6.
And here's a game-altering play. Jerry Atauchu. Dwight Freeney finishing it. Ryan Matthews playing fullback in that set right now. There's some offensive system versatility. Finish in the zone. Chargers have momentum again.
ESPN's Monday Night Football brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Once a member, you're always a member. NFL.com/now. Much the biggest library of NFL videos anywhere. Free. Unveiling the Ring of Honor of Kurt Warner. His wife Brenda. I mean, all football fans know this story. It's still almost too good to be true. Stocking shelves in Iowa. Arena player. Gets a chance. Super Bowl win with the Rams. Super Bowl tough loss with the Rams. Super Bowl appearance and almost win in 08 with these Arizona Cardinals in that awesome game at Tampa against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he's forever a hero here, as in St. Louis.
Special player, special person. One of the great ambassadors our league has. dear friend. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer. So bad teams made him great. I don't know if you can say anything better about a player. What a great night for Kurt Warner to be honored by the Arizona Cardinals.
(17-6). All of a sudden, the Chargers 2 third-quarter touchdowns, and once again, some of their youngsters excelling as they did last year. And here's a story. Only once in the illustrious career, this game included, with 2 quarters to go, has Larry Fitzgerald not had a catch. It happened in his rookie year in 04, and thus far tonight, he doesn't have a catch because he hasn't been targeted. The youngest man in NFL history to 800 catches and 11,000 yards, yet none of it tonight. Cardinals out down by 11, begin at the 20. Carson Palmer behind Ellington, tries to make a move and goes nowhere as Brandon Flowers, 17 career interceptions, Pro Bowler last year, Kansas City, let go by the Chiefs.
I think a couple things to understand about Larry Fitzgerald not seeing the ball yet. And yes, I agree. At times you need to force feed great players. But Bruce Arians, the head coach, has been one of the great play callers our league's seen in the last 10, 15 years. He doesn't believe in calling plays for players. He calls plays for progressions. And if the quarterback does his job, if he's calling the right plays, the right players get the ball. So I'm sure he's trying to dial up plays where Larry's earlier in the progression.
This is Ellington, who picks up about 5. Manti Te'o among those in on the stop, along with Jason Verrett, #1 pick. Verrett has looked good tonight. Tauchu speaks for itself. #1 and 2 draft picks this year by Tom Telesco, who has come in and done just a super job in identifying players in the draft. In his 2 years as GM, one of the things he did was identify the new head coach, Mike McCoy, working under John Fox in Denver, and before that he had worked under him for years in Carolina, among other places. Where he'd been. Mike McCoy, the second youngest head coach at 42. Telesco, a young GM. Young Chargers making their mark with a 17-6 lead. Week 2 action kicks off with Thursday Night Football. CBS and the NFL Network. Steelers at the Ravens. Steelers hung on to beat Cleveland. The Ravens, needless to say, in the news today. And, oh, by the way, they lost a game on yesterday to Cincinnati. Didn't look good, but that pales by comparison to the release of Ray Rice. And that will continue. So Larry Fitzgerald, we've outlined it. Let's watch this play on 3rd and 4. I mean, you would think any play would be advantageous for him, Trent.
Yeah, this is a situation where you definitely can force feed Larry the ball. Oh, not this easy situation, just went to a hard situation.
12 start. Offense number 70. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
So Bobby Massey, the right tackle, jumped when Melvin Ingram, among others, came charging up. Forced him to take a look, and you can't do that when you're in your... Yep.
And listen, coming out of a timeout at home, I think, you know, circumstances for offensive linemen sometimes can be very difficult. On the road, playing up tempo, you're tired, that's understandable. You just had a timeout. You're at home, there's no crowd noise, and you jump off sides on a 3rd and short, now turn into a 3rd and long.
3rd and 9. Freeney almost had a chance. Palmer unleashes it, and that's way out of bounds. So yet we move along. Larry Fitzgerald, 23rd all-time with 846 catches. 13th all-time with 367 yards. 12th all-time with 87 touchdowns. Nada. And here's another veteran that spin move again, Dwight Freeney.
And they were calling a play to see Larry right there in the replay. They're running a corner route with him. He's not necessarily wide open, but there's a throw to be made if he could step up in the pocket. Dwight Freeney doesn't allow him to.
So the second-year punter, Drew Butler, and corks one. Eddie Royal will try to pick up some yards. That's a good special teams play. Justin Bethel, the man that can leap tall buildings in a single bound.
And an absolute special teams war daddy. I mean, this guy makes plays on special teams all the time, takes advantage of his freakish athleticism. It's not just speed, it's explosiveness. and he finishes. I mean, I can't tell you how hard this is. These athletes, they're running so fast, they're having to change direction. There's a ton of space, and this is an example. 60-inch block right there. I mean, I tap out at 40, Boom. I know you tap out about 36, 37.
Millimeters.
Yeah, that's 60 right there.
That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a come-on man. I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
San Diego has scored touchdowns on both possessions in this quarter. Phillip Rivers and company take over at their own 35, leading 17-6. Phillip to pass it. We're behind Keenan Allen. He makes the catch, evades the tackle, picks up about 8 or maybe 9 yards. One of the few tackles that Larry Foote has not wrapped up tonight. He's had a good night, but he missed Allen that time, and he's not the first to do it.
Nice catch by Keenan Allen, body control. Worked out with Keenan Allen when he was a freshman in college at Cal. And I called Coach Steffer. I said, you have a kid up there with some unique body control, large throw radius, and he's proved it as a young player in the National Football League.
Second and short, and it's going to be third and not as short. It's a good job again by Arizona. Number 91, Matt Shaughnessy, and 95, Tommy Kelly. Just a large force. Frosty Rucker got hurt in the first quarter. Kelly just picked up. You pointed it out, Trent, maybe playing a little longer than they had in mind, but made a big play there. And so instead of 2nd and 1, it's 3rd and a long 3.
And look at the defensive linemen. They're standing up as long as possible.
Rivers to throw. Under duress. And it's incomplete to Antonio Gates. You see Gates there. Just a thought. Gates and Larry Fitzgerald, 87 touchdowns, along with the Hall of Famer winning this year, Andre Reed, 12th all time. We've marveled at him. Gates has caught a few. Larry, nothing tonight.
An interior pressure right there. We talked about pocket push, interior pressure. Phillip can't step up, set his feet, forces an inaccurate throw. Really nice stand by the Arizona Cardinals defense.
Mike Seifert. High kick to Ted Ginn. Says everybody get away, and the backspin on it, and that's certainly not what Cypress and the Chargers had in mind. So the Cardinals get a little bit of break. The guys were behind Ginn to down it at the 10. There they are, and it back the wrong way. That's fine if you're trying to hold the green. It's not good if you're trying to pin the Cardinals deep. Monday Night Football. Of course, I wouldn't know nothing about holding the green. I'd fire it in the hole. You do, which is a little different. Monday Night Football brings you a meeting between two reigning division champs, Sean McCoy in Philadelphia, the high-speed offense, Chip Kelly. Two-time Pro Bowl quarterback Andrew Luck. They tried to come from behind again the other night. The last night at Denver almost did. The Eagles of the Colts, Monday night ESPN, also on Watch ESPN. Punt was a 22-yarder. So Arizona, it's a big break. They get the ball at the 36. Carson Palmer first down. Oh, it's almost. He threw it into double coverage and almost picked off by Marcus Gilchrist.
Marcus Gilchrist does a nice job there. It's slot away from the tight end. He starts to go left, but he sees Carson Palmer's eyes and he beelines for the play side seam. Ooh. Nice discipline by Marcus Gilchrist playing middle of the field safety. Great opportunity right there to intercept it. It's one thing to get there and deflect the ball. But again, that's why some of these guys are playing on defense instead of offense.
I got a story to tell you about that in a minute. Here's second down, Carson Palmer. And that's behind, but a grab is made by Rob burning down the Hausler, the tight end from Florida Atlantic. Third-round pick in 2011 from El Paso. And they have three tight ends they'll use. They've all played: Carlson, Hausler, and Troy Nicholas. Ninth different receiver that Palmer has found. Everyone but the man in motion there toward the bottom, Larry Fitzgerald, but the give is to Andre Ellington. Spinning, and Manti Te'o and company wrap him up, but after a gain of about 6.
Two things notice on this drive for the Arizona Cardinals. Number one, we talked about earlier, Bruce Arians, play caller. over the course of his career in the National Football League, one of the most aggressive play callers, especially in the pass game. Doesn't really believe in that short intermittent passing game, wants to push it down the field. They've done that twice on this drive, got away with one that should have been picked, big completion a couple plays ago. The other thing is they're getting out of the huddle fast. They're huddling, then they're getting to the line of scrimmage quickly, putting the Chargers on their heels a little bit.
2nd, 4. Ellington's got room on the completion from Palmer inside the 30. And after the poor punt, the Cardinals are trying to take advantage here. That's another Arizona Cardinal first down.
Watch everybody get deep. Young quarterbacks, check downs, throw it to your back while the defense is still retreating. Don't wait for the defense to get deep. Stop and play downhill. Carson Palmer sees it right away. The profile of the defense, all the defenders moving backwards. Back slips out in the outlet. Get him the ball going downhill while the defense is moving backward. That was a clinic on check down throwing. Seems easy, but it's a nuance that quarterbacks learn late in their careers.
1st and 10 at the 30. And this time, not so swift as Ellington, but you know, the fact that he's in there, he was a big question all week, learning 90 minutes before that he was going to go. Manti Te'o and another stop, and our man Jerry Atauchu, who has been omnipresent for the Chargers. A big 3rd quarter, 17-6 San Diego heading to the back in Arizona. A big 3rd quarter for the Chargers. Phillip Rivers to Malcolm Floyd puts them in the lead, 10-6. And Jerry Atauchu with the strip sack of Carson Palmer, Dwight Freeney with the recovery, and Ryan Matthews into the end zone, the left side of the line, doing a big job. Gates as well on that play. And the Chargers lead 17-6, but here come the Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, the only team in the last 2 plus 1 week year, 2 years and 1 week to go into Seattle and beat the Seahawks. So they're not afraid. We know that much, Trent.
They got it. I know it's early in the, it's just the beginning of the 4th quarter, but after this drive, what they've endured in the 3rd quarter, I think they got to finish off this drive. They're having their way. Change a quarter. San Diego's had a chance to breathe, but they got to keep applying the pressure offensively.
2nd and 11, Carson Palmer going long, and there's a flag in the secondary. Pass intended for John Carlson. Richard Marshall on
Holding.
defense.
Defense number 31. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Trent, where did he go to school, Marshall?
Yeah, I wish you'd say that to make a big play, but Fresno State.
Well, he has time.
Fresno State.
It's the 5-yard penalty, but he move it.
Yeah, and it happened even before that. There's a lot going on. He was holding Carlson even before Carlson started on the corner out there.
1st and 10, 26. Give us to Stepfan Taylor, 5th round pick a year ago from Stanford, young man from Mansfield, Texas. Trying to change it up at the back, using just about everybody, right, Trent?
They are. Friday at practice, Boom, we saw this exact situation. They were going over 2nd and 3rd downs in the high red zone area, and they fell in love. They worked on about 4 or 5 times the old school deep shake route. That's the outside receivers starting on the post routes, the in-breaking routes, and then at the top of the route going to the corner. I would expect to see one of those shots coming up.
Palmer on 2nd down. There's Stepfan Taylor spinning down about the 11, and that's another Arizona Cardinal first down.
Nice job by Carson Palmer. It's not the route I was talking about, but they are definitely trying to take a shot in the end zone here. A deep extended drop, but again, the defense gets deep. You see all those underneath linebackers dropping deep into coverage, taking away those deeper throwing lanes. Carson Palmer getting the ball to his back now so he can catch and run and move the chains. It's touchdown, check down when you get in this part of the field.
And first down several times. 1st and goal. They've got to go the full 10 yards to do it. Palmer, swing. Taylor spins. It's up 5 yards, down to the 5. Jarrett Johnson on the stop. But this is a big, big drive for Arizona. started on the backwards punt, if you will, the 22-yard punt by Cyphers, and Arizona trying to climb right back in it. 6-3 Cardinals at the half. 2 third quarter touchdown Chargers. Now Arizona trying to answer here early, 4th. Second and goal from the 5. Palmer to Larry Fitzgerald. One-hander. But one-footer.
That is a very, very difficult concept to pull off. Love it on paper, fake the flat route speed, and then turn into a wheel by the wide receiver. The problem with this concept, one, an incredibly difficult throw for the quarterback, sprinting to his right, but throwing the ball vertically into the end zone. Second of all, that's a tight turn you're expecting Larry Fitzgerald to make right there. Full speed in the flat, and then he's got to get vertical right away. Naturally, you're going to lose ground to the sideline. Love the idea, very difficult to execute.
10th play of the drive, 3rd and goal from the 5. Palmer evades the Chargers. Touchdown, Arizona. Stephon Taylor. And it's 17-12. They're going to go for 2, make it a field goal game.
Chargers are in line on defense.
Snap to Dwyer directly, but they were lined there. So trickery does not pay off, and Richard Marshall from
Fresno State
among the Chargers, to 3 Chargers to make the stop. And so the 2-point conversion doesn't work. 17-12.
Direct snap to the back. Dwyer. Chargers were not aligned to the left, but they run it to the right. Chargers rally. I love this play. Lots to talk about here. I'm trying to go slowly. Carson Palmer coming out on rhythm. Not there. Extends the play. Goes to his right. But look at that Manti Te'o. Buys the pump fake inside. Doesn't cover the flat. Touchdown, Cardinals.
Well, we said the touchdowns would come, and they have. Phillip Rivers, Carson Palmer not going to lead their teams to field goals all day. And so the Cardinals have answered 2 touchdowns by the Chargers. And please hang on. It's going to be a big finish, 17-12. The Charger lead is cut to 5. Donald Brown will not bring out a kick by Catanzaro, the rookie kicker. And Phillip Rivers caught fire in quarter number 3, Trent Dilfer.
He did, and if you look at those first half numbers, don't look very well, but let's not forget a couple big drops, some interior pressures. Doesn't let it bother him. I always talk about pace plays after critical errors. At the end of the first half, Phillip Rivers throws an interception. Not his fault, but it's a critical error. Comes back in the second half, third quarter, and just straight deals. You saw the numbers, 7 for 8. Doesn't flinch at halftime. And something bad happened at the end of the first half. In fact, built off of it and motivated to play even better to start this half.
5 times a 4,000-yard passer in his career, Phillip Rivers. Now we've seen the Cardinals get back in it. The pitch to Matthews. He turns the corner, and Ryan Matthews is going to pick up about 11 and a Charger first down. He got outside of Sam Acho, the linebacker, and he can scoot. Matthews' first healthy year last year, and you're seeing a difference.
And the speed right there to get the corner, the perimeter run game, so valuable for offenses to be able to threaten the entire field in the run game, not just run between the tackles. Matthews, the last 7 games of last year, led the National Football League in rushing, finally became what they needed him to be, a bell cow back.
1,200 yards plus last year for the Chargers. First and 10 at the 31. 17-12, San Diego over Arizona. Under the 12-minute mark. The give is to Matthews. That play took a little long in developing, and Arizona pounced on it. Matt Shaughnessy, 6-year man from Wisconsin, 3rd-round draft pick in '09 from Oakland, again from Norwich, Connecticut, up the road from some of us.
I give the Cardinals front seven a ton of credit all night long. They have made it tough sledding in the run game. They get up a couple plays, but up inside, interior push, engaging offensive linemen, getting off tackles, allowing the linebackers to run free. We've seen Larry Foote have a great game tonight. A lot of that's due because of those big uns up front eating up a lot of blockers.
2nd and 12, Phillip Rivers to pass. Underneath of Ladarius Green, makes the shake. Picks up a few yards. Or he is brought down by Rashad Johnson. And now, still 3rd and long, San Diego. The crowd on its feet here in Arizona. Big play, Cardinals.
And this is what the Cardinals want to do. They tried to get momentum back, had a great touchdown drive, stopped the run and short pass on 1st and 2nd down, force a must-pass situation, try to get after Phillip Rivers.
Here they come. Rivers throwing. Flags are down, but the ball is picked off Arizona. Tony Jefferson moving on up. But we'll wait to see what the flag is.
Holding. Defense number 22. 5-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
So he held and then intercepted. What a big call that. You don't think Bruce Arians is hot?
This is all we talked about in the offseason, the preseason. At what point would this rule emphasis affect a game? Right there. Hey, based on the letter of the law and the emphasis, that is a penalty. Now, I don't agree with it. It's an unfair fight for the defense if they can't get hands on to a certain degree. Antonio Gates pushes off his left arm, but they have been prepped all preseason for plays just like that, and it cost them an interception.
A huge play in the flip to Eddie Royal on the reverse. Arizona's ready. They're not taking no for an answer. Atcho again on the, this time in on the play.
And again, the front seven of the Arizona Cardinals playing relentless football, but Patrick Peterson right there makes an awesome play. See him right here come over the top on the reverse action. He's going to come back in the screen. Look at the discipline. He gets outside. He forces the play back inside to where his buddies are. Guy's going to make the play, not selfish and try to make the play himself.
2nd and 13 at the 35. Crowd certainly into it with 9.5 to go. Rivers, deep, way over the head of Royal. And good coverage on the play by Gerard Powers. And so again, a 3rd down.
And a real stand-up series to this point by the Arizona Cardinals. They get a stop. They think they have an interception. They get the penalty against them. That deflates a lot of units. Not this group. First two plays after the interception, they've actually forced the Chargers to lose 3 yards. Now they're in control of this down, a must-pass situation. Calais Campbell told me, hey, I live to eat, and I eat on 3rd and long.
And Phillip Rivers didn't like what they were chewing on.
So we just go to a commercial.
Timeout. ESPN's Monday Night Football brought to you by Autotrader.com. Find your car your way at Autotrader.com. And ESPNFanshop.com, powered by Dick's Sporting Goods. Covered tonight from Spider Cam, brought to you by DirecTV here at the University of Phoenix Stadium. They house an undefeated college football team. You know, they've never lost. University of Phoenix.
Never.
Well, they're an online school, so
It's pretty amazing.
they're really good. They recruit well. They got a fast offense.
They found the secret sauce.
And
Don't
the
play any games.
Cardinals are trying to play as well as that college team in this yard. 3rd and 13. Rivers back to throw. Long. complete to Antonio Gates. The duo of quarterback and tight end that has the most touchdowns combined come up with a huge play on 3rd and 13 of 34 yards.
Double A-gap pressure. Philip Rivers knows he's got to hold it. Last second gun barrel. That ball is thrown so early. That's a corner go. That ball's been in the air for 15 yards by the time Antonio Gates looks back, because Philip Rivers holds on to it to the last second. Gun barrel accuracy. That was a dime.
Danny Woodhead. Not much foot on the tackle. What a play. And those guys they know each other's moves in their sleep, don't they?
And so much more to playing quarterback than just throwing the ball. The sense of timing, anticipation, accuracy, the courage to stand in there in the last possible second, knowing somebody's going to hit you right in the chest plate, and still having the courage, the awareness, the moxie to drop it in there. That's a big-time play.
And Antonio Gates, how much does he have left? 5 catches for 73. Danny Woodhead kind of diving under, just squirrels for a couple. So the pride of Chadron State.
Going back to situation, I mean, Arizona comes out, has a nice stand, thinks they intercept the ball, penalty, then forces the Chargers backwards, forces the 3rd and 13. Ball's in their court. They have all the control in that situation, except they're facing one of the best players in the National Football League. Philip Rivers gets them out of the hole.
Third and 8 from the 29. Rivers. Oh, it's snapped behind him. He falls on it, but they're out of field goal range, which, if made, would have made it an 8-point game, but that's a big if. And remember, Nick Hardwick, the center, went out earlier in the game with an injury. Ornberger done a good job, but that time the miscommunication is going to cost the Chargers dearly.
Yeah, but that's on Philip Rivers. We're sitting here singing his praises. He's played brilliantly. That is a basic snap catch situation. That's not on Ornberger at all. That's on Philip Rivers. #1 job, catch the ball in the shotgun, moves him out of field goal range, defeats a great drive.
Cypress will punt it inside the 10.
Oh my
Hugh
goodness.
makes that, but man, just when you think.
Just when you think, boom. Brilliant play by Philip Rivers. Does the hard stuff, makes the hard stuff look easy. Unfortunately, made the easy stuff look very hard right there. Very costly to the Chargers.
Chris Berman, Trent Dilfer, Lindsey Czarniak, our Monday night crew here in Arizona. Entertaining game. The Cardinals, Carson Palmer, have a chance that if they can score a touchdown here toward the end of the 4th quarter, would come all the way back from 11 down. Palmer throwing on 1st down to Larry Fitzgerald. Good coverage there by Jason Verrett.
The thing about Carson Palmer, he's down 17-6. Your instincts say, hey, I want to push this ball in the field. I want to get us back in the game. But no, shows discipline. Retreating underneath defenders. Gets the ball to his back early so he can get downhill, get chunk yardage. I'm only throwing the ball about 5 yards. Does it again. Hey, I know I'm going to get my opportunity. I'm going to push it down the field. I'm going to be the hero. No, I'm not getting the look we designed the play for. They're soft again. They're retreating. Get the ball to another back. That's how you score touchdowns in the National Football League. It's decision-making as much as spinning it.
Flag. Motion.
False start. Offense, number 62. Pass the distance to the goal. Still 2nd down.
Ted Larson came over from Tampa Bay. Gets the motion call. And so they're backed up to 2nd and 15 at their own 4.5. We've seen the Cardinals drive several times forward from the shadow of their own goalpost. Under 7. Sorry, Trent.
No, my bad. And hats off to Jason Verrett, the young corner. That 1st down play is matched up on Larry Fitzgerald. Played great bail technique. Created confusion by Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald.
5 split out wide. Palmer. Ooh, and that's Verrett on a quick completion to Ted Ginn. And the #1 pick, Verrett. They distant cousin of Stan Verrett, our late night anchor in LA. And
I don't think Stan would come up and lay the helmet on a player like that. But Jason Verrett, Eric Weddle's telling us, obviously has incredible traits as a man corner, but he was more impressed by how smart, how functionally football intelligent Jason Verrett has been at a young age.
big play, Carson Palmer and the Cardinals on 3rd and 10. Good rush, but Palmer evades him. He's got room, and he picks up the first down.
Carson Palmer extending plays, using his legs all night long. I mentioned earlier in the game, he's an underrated athlete. If you give him this type of space, right, instinct to climb, there's open field right there. He's a good enough athlete to get some hidden yards using his feet.
30 yards on the ground for Carson Palmer. That's news. What a huge play, too, Trent. Under 6 to go now. First down at the 21. Palmer fires. Complete on the far side to Michael Floyd. And San Diego fans are going, no, wait a minute. I don't want to say it. It's Monday night. Well, go ahead and take the play.
Well, this is interesting. I don't want to make too much out of this, but that was a mirrored route concept. Michael Floyd running a speed out to the right. Larry Fitzgerald running a speed out to the left on Jason Verrett. Those are the plays. Single high safety. Carson Palmer has his choice which side he goes to. He chose to go to Floyd instead of Larry Fitzgerald.
2nd and 1. Ellington dangerous. He can move. And he's almost to the midfield stripe. So here come the Cardinals, and it's Monday Night Football. Last year they had a 21-point lead against Houston and didn't win. Our game we did. 2 years ago, you don't even need to bring up the huge lead against Denver. And here they are again with a double-digit lead. And San Diego fans are wondering, oh my goodness, really? When the clock strikes past midnight in the East, is that the problem? The Charger defense must stand because we're down to 4.5 minutes. Palmer has led them up almost to the 50. Back to throw. Oh, and he got leveled. About one step away from the ball being forced out of his hands. Just got it free in enough time.
And I think Jason Verrett gets away with that downfield holding right here. I was watching as it happened, and isolation play to the young rookie John Brown on another rookie, Jason Verrett. And it definitely looked like past the 5 yards. Here we go. I want to see if my eyes lied to me. That's past 5 yards right there at that shot. And then there's, and that's what forced Carson Palmer's timing away and made him escape the pocket.
2nd down, Palmer to throw. And there it is. Larry Fitzgerald with his first catch of the night and into San Diego territory at the 30.
Love this. Little man beater. Inside receiver running the fade. Little natural pick on the underneath route. That is a great way to get Larry Fitzgerald his first catch of the game. Get him matched up on Flowers in the slot and let him run a vertical route.
So he can still make circus catches, huh?
Yeah.
That's number 11. By the way, the 11th different Cardinal receiver tonight. At the San Diego 30 with 4 minutes to go. Spinning is Jonathan Dwyer for maybe a yard. Corey Leggett sits on it. Look at this now. He's been doing it since he was drafted 3rd overall in 2004. 1 pick ahead of Phillip Rivers.
He just makes the difficult catch look so easy. The only guy that I can ever remember making the circus catch, the conflict catch, look as easy as Larry Fitzgerald is our colleague and Hall of Famer Chris Carter. It's amazing the similarity they have with their ball skills.
Second and 8. Palmer, time. Ooh, but that ball sails wide of Fitzgerald. And now again, a 3rd down play for Carson Palmer. Can the Chargers defense make a stand? 3:17 in the game.
Now that's Larry Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer not being on the same page there. A little underneath called an arrow route, a little stop route by an outside receiver. Larry Fitzgerald comes in, recognizes the zone, sits in the hole. Carson Palmer expecting him, obviously by where he threw the ball, to slide back out. They still have some stuff they need to work on to be on the same page.
This is 2-down territory, without a doubt, with 3 minutes. 5 points.
I don't think so.
Palmer to throw. We won't have to find out, because Michael Floyd with a diving catch, and the Cardinals are down to the 13-yard line. That's another Arizona first down.
What a catch by Michael Floyd. Going down, those are tough catches for wide receivers, especially tall wide receivers. Michael Floyd, 6'3", going down, securing the ball, getting both arms underneath, and that's something Chris Carter talks about right there all the time. As you go down and you're trying to catch that ball, you must roll to your side, not stay on your belly. Nice job by Michael Floyd there, securing the catch.
Drive began at their own 9. They even had a penalty, remember? Palmer on first down to the rookie. Touchdown, Palmer to John Brown. Arizona back in front.
The Cardinals needed what I call beep beep. Those are sudden guys with road runner speed and quickness. John Brown is that guy. They identified him in the draft. They just throw him a simple slip screen. The bigs get out on the perimeter well, but watch this change of direction. Beep, beep, right there, accelerates into the end zone. They made Marvin Harrison comparisons. Bruce Arians did talking to us about John Brown because of his ability to start, stop, transition speed. Makes a huge play there to get the Cardinals the lead.
And they will go for 2, because remember the failed 2-point conversion before. A 2-point lead's the same as a 1-point lead. And incomplete to Larry Fitzgerald. They obviously went for 2 so that a field goal would only tie by San Diego. Now it would spell a win. But that's the field goal that didn't come on the missed snap by Rivers, which then Arizona converted into a touchdown with a drive that was 91 yards.
That was a great route by Larry Fitzgerald. Bad throw by Carson Palmer. But here we go. John Brown. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Change of direction. Here I go. You can't touch me. I'm getting home in the end zone.
You waited into the second half the night before the full moon. It's a valley now again of the sun. 2 third-quarter touchdowns. San Diego made it 17-6 Chargers. 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. Arizona made it 18-17 Cardinals. And Chandler Catanzaro, the reason he won the job was his kickoffs. Veteran kicker Jay Feely cut, and he kicked it into the end zone. And now you're seeing why he's here. Made a couple of field goals tonight. Can Phillip Rivers shake off what was an 11-point lead? Watch Carson Palmer come back and do it. Now can he do to the Cardinals what they've just done to he and the Chargers? 2:25 to do it. They just need a Nick Novak field goal.
Phillip Rivers led the league last year and a half touchdowns, but throws an interception because Eddie Royal is not on the same page. Had 4 game-winning drives last year, but everybody's got to work together. All they need is a field goal.
It's allowed now. Rufon, obviously. Rivers on first down. In trouble, bobbled, but caught by Keenan Allen and out of bounds. A San Diego first down, a 12-yard pickup.
And Phillip Rivers' ability to change his arm angle. Sometimes you throw these shallow crosses. Matthew Stafford's been knocked for, but you got to do this sometimes. You're stepping left, climbing. You got to find a throwing lane. Phillip Rivers drops his arm, changes his arm angle, makes an accurate throw on the crossing route. Nice drive starter right there.
First and 10 Chargers at their own 32. 2:18 to go. Trailing by 1. Rivers complete. Nacho makes the tackle on Antonio Gates, his 8th catch, and that'll probably take us to the 2-minute warning. Well, if you stayed up, you were rewarded. You knew the touchdowns would come. We've had 4 of them here in the second half. San Diego says we don't need a touch. We'll take it. How about a field goal? We'll see. 2 minutes to go. 18-17 Arizona. 2 minutes to go in this game, and we finish up here. Sports Center right up the road from our LA studio with Neil and Stan. Ray Rice released by the Ravens. Lions impressive at home on Monday night. And Kershaw again for the Dodgers. Man, he's
awesome.
He is, yeah, he's just awesome. It's automatic. Second down and 2 at the 40 for the Chargers. Trailing by a point. It's taking a long time. He's still got 5 seconds to snap it. Here they come. Rivers gets it off. Ooh, through a couple of Cardinals' hands. Patrick Peterson had a stop.
Interesting. We talked to Bruce. Yeah, we talked to Bruce Arians, Boom, and we talked about these end-of-game defensive situations, how aggressive he is. He said, "I know 2 defenses in these situations: blitz man and blitz." That's all he knows. They bring the house right there, put those guys on an island. You will see aggressive defensive play calling by defense coordinator Todd Bowles right now, because Bruce Arians, the head coach, believes in staying aggressive in these moments.
Think they're into it? 3rd and 2. Here they come again. Rivers sidearm incomplete. We're down to 4th down.
Inside pressure again. I mean, they are pinning their ears back on defense right now. The Arizona Cardinals are. Look at this inside double A-gap pressure. Add on another rusher. Phillip knows he's got to get the ball out. Trusting Keenan Allen that he's going to be in the spot there for the hot throw. There's no choice, but you got to make a better throw if you're Phillip Rivers. This Arizona Cardinals defense should be fresh. The last 2 Arizona offensive drives, 11 plays, 10 plays. These guys have been chilling over the sideline so they can pin their ears back.
Could be your ball game right here. They took too long. They took too long.
Delay game. Offense number 17. 5-yard penalty.
And the communication between the backup center, Arnberger, and a very loud, but the clock went way down, Trent.
Well, the same thing that makes you laugh makes you cry in football. So it's a great tool to have to be able to direct all the traffic to the line of scrimmage. Have the whole playbook at your fingertips. Redirect protections, get matchups. That is great. But it makes you cry sometimes when you're facing extreme pressure moments. It's loud and you can't get it communicated. It's tough.
They said they got a timeout in time, and that's huge. So 4th and 2. Just got a timeout in time. Ball tipped, but caught, but dropped. Tipped, and Keenan Allen had a chance and dropped it. And the Arizona Cardinals, barring some unforeseen event, are going to be able to run this thing down and steal a 1-pointer after trailing by 11.
The most underappreciated aspect of defensive line play and front 7 play is when the quarterback stops, understanding it and getting your hands up. Larry Foote, no surprise it would be him. The guy has dominated from the inside linebacker position against the run tonight, and there the wily vet is in a pressure rush situations. Recognize Phillip Rivers is stopping his feet, pulls up, has the awareness to knock the ball down. Now Keenan Allen still has a chance to make the play, but the deflected ball makes it that much tougher. And Phillip Rivers gets it. Identified the wide receiver, had the matchup he wanted, He couldn't account for Larry Foote making an exceptional play there to possibly win the game for the Arizona Cardinals.
Foote with his hand may have given the Cardinals a 1-0 start this year. Just a simple run, and the Chargers had to use a timeout, of course. So now here comes another one. That's Dwyer. And so they'll have nothing left. So, look, 11-point lead on the road, admittedly, against a team that won 10 games. This one, if barring the unforeseen, is going to sting. And what'll sting more? 6 days from now, the Chargers home opener, the Seattle Seahawks. The Arizona Cardinals, meanwhile, if they hold on with a comeback win on a short week, go a long way across the country to face the New York Giants team scratching their head after a blowout that we saw tonight in Detroit. So what a difference. All of a sudden,
boom, the key
there you
play.
go.
I mean, think about it. Arizona Cardinals done a nice job, but Phillip Rivers responds to 3rd and 13 completion, gets them down to scoring territory. They're going to kick a field goal to make this an extended lead. Phillip Rivers drops the snap.
You just have to execute a couple of handoffs, and that'll do it. Jonathan Dwyer spins. Now just about do it. But unless Novak could kick a 90-yard field goal with 10 seconds to go.
Well, there's a lot of Carson Palmer doubters out there, and it's understandable because you see his career numbers, and there's that one number at the end, the interception number, 152. But I think if you take the last 9 games of last season, where he was brilliant, and you look at his performance tonight, got away with a couple, made some great throws, made great decisions. His last 2 drives, getting the Arizona Cardinals back in this game, 12 of 13 and 2 touchdowns when it mattered the most.
And a couple of scrambles. Big scramble for a first down deep in his territory. Well, that's a first down. Foot. And Jonathan Dwyer, and you could. And the fat lady's about to sing.
And the big guys love this.
Yep.
Finish the game with the ball. I've been working hard all night. Let me go downhill, move some white shirts, and let my runner get on my hip and finish these things off. What a nice job of the Arizona Cardinals offensive line right there.
So Carson Palmer tonight, Trent, 24 of 37 for 304 with 2 touchdowns, no picks. He'd never run for 30 yards in a game before tonight. And the Arizona Cardinals, as the clock ticks down, will defeat the San Diego Chargers, staring an 11-point deficit in the face. 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, and the Cardinals win 18-17. 2 teams that combined for 19 wins last year, combined to put on a heck of a show. This is a really entertaining second half. These teams really have a chance to go places, Trent, and we know they both have moxie.
Yep. I think both these teams will make a lot of noise. Cardinals show a little bit more resilience tonight. What a good football game this turned into. I thought we saw really good quarterback play for the most part. Phillip Rivers made the one mistake, but I'll say this, Boom. The biggest honor for me is to be able to work with you once a year doing this. Thanks, partner.
It was great. Really appreciate a lot of fun. Really enjoyed this. Hope everybody else did. Our thanks to Lindsey Zarniak on the field. Our whole ESPN Monday night crew out west. Arizona 18, San Diego 17. So long from Arizona. I'm Chris Berman. Good evening. Sports Center coming up next.